stage. And so I am always here for you. I'm in your corner. I cheer you on every step of the way. I look forward to your pinning ceremony. Hopefully some of you already have that in mind, right? Because that's why you're starting, is so that you can get your degree and get out into the field and help people, help patients. And so I'm so proud of you already. I'm excited for you. I know that you're up to the challenge and the hard work that's coming your way. You have amazing faculty. The faculty in each of your programs are what we call students first. They are so knowledgeable. They have already walked a mile in your shoes, so they have so much in the way of knowledge and experience to share with you. And they do that, every day. They also are great cheerleaders, motivators, coaches, mentors, and they will also be right there by your side. So it's an amazing journey. I wish you great success, much happiness. I look forward to supporting you as you embark upon this journey. And as always, if you need anything, I am here. And so please don't ever hesitate to, let me know how I can help. Email, pop in my office, send a text. I'm learning to read smoke signals, whatever it is. But again, just what an exciting day. And so again, congratulations and welcome to Keiser University, Miami. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Beach. And now we have Dr. Dean Sibilia for a few words of encouragement.
Thank you, Dr. Cleary, and thank you, President Beach. I echo every single syllable that President Beach has shared with you so far. We are extremely, extremely excited for all of you as you start your journey in January to becoming healthcare professionals. You've taken on a task that is very challenging, that is very much in need in our communities, and that is extremely, extremely important as a responsibility. What you will be learning in your classes moving forward will impact countless lives, really and truly. And that is monumental. That is incredible that we see you here right now at your orientation, and that a year in some cases, or a year and a half from now, you'll be out there in the community helping patients. It's incredible to us. So we're very, very excited for all of you. We are proud of what you've accomplished so far in your general education classes, and we know that you will excel in your chosen allied health disciplines moving forward starting in January. Besides being here to congratulate you and to pat you on the back and to give you encouragement, I do have some housekeeping items that I want to go through with all of you so that you're all prepared and ready to go for January 11th. For those of you that are new students, to Keiser, welcome. We are happy to have you and look forward to meeting and working with all of you. If you are new, please continue to work with your admissions counselor. They will make sure that they guide you through the process so that you're registered appropriately for your classes, so that all of your finances are set and you're ready to go for January 11th. If you are a continuing student, that means that you have taken courses or are currently taking courses at Miami campus. Please make sure that you are working either with a dean or with Soraya Campos in the admissions office to finalize your financial aid and to finalize your schedules. We want to make sure that all of that is taken care of either already, which some of you are done, or during the break, so that you are ready to go for January 11th. In addition to housekeeping items, administrative housekeeping items like scheduling and financial aid, all of you or some of you are still taking courses and finishing up your general education classes today or tomorrow, actually. So please make sure that you're focusing on that, keeping your eye on the prize in terms of your grades. As a reminder, you have to complete all of your general education classes successfully and meet all of the requirements of the program before you can continue on to January 11th. So if you have any questions about that, please reach out to a dean, please reach out to your program directors, and we will guide you and advise you regarding any questions that you may have about prerequisite courses, GPA requirements, or anything like that. In addition to that, some of you have some housekeeping items that your program directors have already shared with you during the core orientation. I'm just going to reiterate a couple of those things because they're very important and they're different from what you have, from what's been requested of you and required of you during your general education classes. Now that you're going into allied health disciplines, background checks are going to be a regular occurrence and drug screenings are going to be a regular occurrence. So remember that to follow the guidance of your program directors and of your faculty to ensure that you're getting those things completed within a timely manner. If you have any questions about how to process drug screenings or background checks, please let us know and we'll help you with that. In addition to that, you'll have some health documentation that you have to submit, insurance documentation that you have to submit. Please make sure that you're on top of that, those documents. You are going to be going 100 miles an hour once January 11th comes around. So we want to make sure that we're covering all of those housekeeping items now so that you are well prepared and you don't have these additional items to worry about once January 11th comes around. So I hope that you have had a good experience so far in the day or 2 or 3 that you have had so far of orientation, depending on your program. I encourage you to reach out to your faculty, to your lead faculty, to your program directors if you have any questions or concerns. As the president mentioned, she is available and I am available if there's anything that you need. The campus will remain open during the break if you need to reach out to us. And I just wish all of you a very, very, very happy and safe holiday break. Stay healthy is the most important thing I can wish for all of you and your loved ones. And I am going to turn the meeting over to Dr. Cleary. He's going to cover a lot of important things with you today. He's going to cover test-taking skills. He's going to cover study skills. This is going to be a short and intense orientation session for you. And the information that's covered is really as important as you want it to be. You can take the information that's given to you today, you can take great notes and you can put those notes away in a drawer, or you can take this information, take great notes and implement it, which is what we hope that you do. If you take this feedback and these study skills and these test-taking skills and implement them, we are confident that you will be stronger for it as an allied health student. So without further ado, Dr. Cleary, thank you for your time today, everybody. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of our orientation.
Well, thank you, Dean Sibilia, and thank you, President Beach. Welcome all. I'm sure you are thrilled to be here. At least it's not a beach day. Well, it's always a beach day in our mind. That's what you're saying. I know. So don't worry. It's going to be short and intense. And let me see, what time is it? It's about 10 minutes to 2. So I promise you I will finish by 6:30 or 7 o'clock. Okay. So you can plan your lives around this. Anyway, as we go through the program today, if everybody can just first locate that little chat button down there, occasionally I'm going to say, hey, say hi in chat. This way I can do the attendance. And I'll do that probably in a few minutes, and I'll do it halfway through and right towards the end, okay? So that I can pick up the attendance. All righty? This is your session. We're going to have some fun here. I'm going to run from a PowerPoint. There you go. Thank you, Dean Sibilia. Can you please rename yourselves so I don't have to call you iPhone or Android? Well, maybe your name is Android. I'm not sure. But if you could rename yourselves and possibly throw in the program you're at. So why don't we do that? Why don't we go in that chat? Why don't we try that out? Why don't we check the chat and just put your program in, okay? Because I'll see your name and then I'll know what program you're with. I think we have PTA, we have OTA, we have RT, and I think we have nursing. And do we have bachelors of nursing also too? How do you like that English I just used? Also too. That was really good. I'm glad Megan's not here. Okay. All righty, so let's take a look. We're getting people to write in the chat box. Nice, PTA. Hello, everybody. Let me share my screen and we'll get to the presentation. All righty. Okay, so welcome to your study skills workshop. And we're going to talk about lots of different things today. How you approach your program. You know, I like this session that I do because the fact that you got this far shows me who you are and that you're already working and you have a lot of these skills under your belt. Now, I wish I could figure out how to see you folks at the same time as I'm talking, but you know, what the heck, we'll figure that out as we go. Well, congratulations, you got here. You know a lot of the things we're going to talk about, and here we go. All righty, so I start with this picture because I just love the ocean. I love the analogy of the ocean. And I love the analogy of the sky, the blue sky touching the ocean. And then that rainbow. And we all know what's at the end of the rainbow. And this whole thing works for education for me. It really does. You know, because I look at education as we're in life sitting on top. And we're looking out there in education, the information and education sitting there out in that ocean. Okay. And we want to go and we want to decide whether we're going to dive into that ocean and we're going to take advantage of everything that we have in there, or we're just going to dilly-dally around a little bit. Now, again, I said, I'm preaching to the choir here. I know that you've made this decision already, okay? So let me see if I can get this. I'm not your regular type of person, so let's start with this.
And now for something completely different.
What did that mean? I don't know. Just it gets your attention. Okay, now. So again, we're back to the ocean and we have a choice. We can look at that ocean. I sit there and I contemplate a lot when I sit and look at the ocean and the sky. And in education, we do a lot of contemplating. It's how what do we do with that contemplating? And I love this picture. And listen, you don't have to stay on mute. You can yell stuff out. This is your session. I want to have some fun with it, okay? But what is this? This is obviously somebody at sunset or sunrise. Now, what coast would you be on if it was sunset? You'd be on the West Coast. So we develop that intuitiveness. On the East Coast, that would be sunrise. So anyway, what are we doing? We're getting ready to skim a rock. And skimming rocks across the water is really a fun thing. And we always do that. I just love skimming rocks. And what's the objective? To get that rock to jump across that surface, to keep jumping across it. It's really cool. You can get up to 20 or so. And I love this one. We did this at night and we took a strobe picture of a rock skimming. And every time it hit, it picked up that strobe. Okay. Come on into the classroom. All righty. Why do I bring up the rock skipping? Well, a lot of us look at prior education experiences and we barely touch them. You know the whole thing. Oh, I got through geometry. Oh, I'm through with that class. I never have to see that again. Thank heavens, right? And basically, in a lot of the things we have to study and we're forced to study in the beginning type stuff, we just are skimming the surface. We're not really taking a look at it. We don't want to. We have so much we have to get done. We basically jump across and skim the surface. We don't start to dive in. And as we get older, as we move into high school and we start to see the sciences and the different types of maths and things, and we start to see career pathways and stuff, we start to dive in and we don't skip the rocks so much in education. We start to dive in and we start to see all the stuff that is underneath there. And if we just keep skipping rocks, we're going to miss a lot of the detail. Now, we're in allied health, and allied health is a special animal. Special animal for many, many, many reasons, okay? One of the reasons for me, and I'll freely admit, I just said admit because I see this button say admit every 10 seconds as people come in. And those of you who came on time, great. Those of you who came late, we'll break that habit on January 11th, right? Great. Excellent. Uh, Here we go. Thank you. Admit, 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 admit. So we want to dive in. We want to spend some time hitting the admit button. We want to dive in and we want to try to enjoy our adventure. We want to take a look around. Now, unlike the past where we had to get all this stuff there and just pass these types of tests, everything you're going to study going forward becomes your tool belt, your clinical armamentarium, the tools you're going to use to be a clinician. And you're a clinician. You're moving forward to become a clinician. So everything that it all builds. So when you're finished with that first class that's driving you crazy, and if you're nursing and you go into pharmacology and that's driving you crazy, don't let it drive you crazy because it becomes part of your life. This is what we do. This is what we learn. So if you have those types of issues, come to us. We've been there and we like helping people. We like helping you become our colleagues, okay? Because right now you're moving from the person on the street, man, woman, child, beast on the street, to becoming a healthcare professional. And we're healthcare professionals and we want you to become healthcare professionals with us. And as you get your degrees and certifications, you then become our colleagues. And we're going to take care of the same patients. So we're going to spend a lot of time making sure that our patients are taken care of properly because we're so patient-centric. All of your teachers, we're all patient-centric. And in healthcare, that's the way we are. Now, being patient-centric brings us two people are in the waiting room. See if I can keep admit all. Come on in. Okay, and we have to keep always patient-centric. And one of the things I like to say to people is, as we move into healthcare, is that you have to start to look at people a little bit differently, okay? We all have different experiences in life, and we'll talk about the experiences in life in your education process a little bit later on. But we have all different experiences in life, and we come into healthcare, and as we learn, as we move into our disciplines, into our modalities, some of the past experiences that we have had are not the same. Okay. So we have to step back and we have to say, okay, we need to learn how to be healthcare professionals. One of those things, just a simple one, might be if in your life, well, we don't, in this era of COVID, we don't do it, but if in your life you are a hugger, and a lot of us are huggers, and you're a hugger and you saw a patient having a hard time and you were in your professional clinical role, you're not a hugger, okay? The patient can hug you, but you can't hug them, okay? We have to dissolve all sorts of stuff, just like if you like to pray all the time, okay? And if you feel that a patient could use prayer at a certain moment, we don't bring that up. That has to come from the patient's side, okay? So these are all things that we have to start to learn about. How do we work in these environments? What's going on? There's a lot of legal things that we learn, but I like to say the legal things are just basic etiquette. A lot of it's basic etiquette, and when we hit them, we'll talk about them, okay? Everybody okay? Have I put you to sleep yet? I'm trying. Okay. Let's see if I can get to that next slide. Okay. And again, some more of the detail that you'll miss. And you don't want to miss the detail. To be a great caregiver, a great clinician, you have to develop different types of senses, okay? And as you develop these, it can get grueling in the beginning until it becomes a habit. One of the things you want to keep in mind is that every patient that comes our way is somebody's mother, father, sister, or brother. And hopefully you liked your mother, father, sister, or brother, but everybody is somebody's mother, father, sister, or brother, and it doesn't matter. They need to be treated. You need to treat everybody in front of you the same way. You have to treat them with the utmost care and respect. And you have to think of what you're doing, the way you're comporting yourself, the way you're dealing with yourself. and analogize that to how you would want a loved one treated. Okay. It's not easy. And we'll talk later on as we get into more discussions here. We'll talk about what happens when we get that frequent flyer type of a patient, the frequent flyer patient, the one that is walking into your office with a bottle of booze and smoking a cigarette, 800 pounds. Okay. It's hard. It's easy to get a bit of an attitude, but you can't, not as a caregiver. You can't, because that bottle of booze and that cigarette and all that weight, that may have been a choice at one point, but now it's a disease process. And we have to get beyond that reactive level to be able to handle our patients. Okay. And again, as we dive into our education, we're going to start to see all sorts of crazy, great detail, very interesting type stuff. Yeah, we go, oh, yeah. I hate physics. Oh, I hate chemistry. Oh, I hate math. Come to me, call me up. Tell me you hate math. We'll have a little discussion. We'll talk about math a little bit. I'm going to ask you about when you go into a restaurant. Do you know how to give a tip? Oh, I know how to give a tip. Okay, great. And when you go into Publix, do you get the right change when you leave? Oh, I always get the right change. Ah, so you don't hate all math. You probably like the math when you look in your bank account and see your check went in and cleared, right? That's a nice math. You have situational math stuff. So we just blow that away. Okay. And it's not your fault. It's not your fault. In my mind, people with math problems, and guess what? 8 out of 7 people have math problems. They have math anxiety. Okay. No big deal. If you have a great math teacher, which at the very front end, which are few and far between, you wind up loving math. Some people do. Some people are just very natural at it, and it's just the way we're approaching it. So let go of any of those anxieties. You're going to be able to learn any of this stuff as we go forward as healthcare workers. You can do it. That's how you got into this program, right? Can't hear you. Okay, that's all right. I'll imagine it. All right. So I'm the real deal. I'm Dr. Bob. There's my email address. And you'll get this again later on, but that's my cell phone. If you want to try it, see if this will ring right away. I'm there for you. I want to be there for you. I may not be running your program or teaching you personally, but sometimes you'll need somebody to talk to and bounce ideas off or bounce whatever situations are going on off. And if you feel that I'm nutty enough to be able to speak to you, I'm there for you. It's okay. And I'm very confidential. I'm very confidential. You can come to me, and part of my background is as a compliance officer. And what is a compliance officer? Well, we keep people out of trouble. Okay. And one of the things in compliance is that we make sure that we keep people confident. Okay. So if you have a problem, okay, sometimes, there's a misconception. Sometimes students start to feel that they're getting beat up by a teacher. Okay. It might happen. I've not seen it, but it might happen. Okay. I have seen students feel that way a lot. I've seen them feel that way a lot. And I also know that the common parlance, the common thought is students earn A's, B's, and C's, but instructors and teachers give D's and F's. I understand that. I understand. We don't want to take part in that one. We were given that one. We earned this one, but we were given that one. Okay, so part of this whole healthcare thing, this whole healthcare world is starting to accept the fact that, hey, sometimes we don't hit a home run. Okay, and sometimes we don't get it right. And that's not that bad. And that's why you're in school. And that's why we have such great faculty to be next to you. And that's why we use externships and all sorts of training like that, because we want to present you with situations where we could have a problem. Okay, we want you to face those things in controlled environments. We want to show you how to get through those things so that you can keep yourself and keep your patients and keep your coworkers and your family safe. Okay. Again, you made a great decision. You came into these fields. You worked your tails off. You worked your tails off to get here. Okay. At the end of this road, You follow this road, you know when you're going to graduate. You just have to do your work. You know when you graduate. After that, you'll take your certification exams, and then you will go out and find a job. Oh, no, no, make sure you know that one. It's go out and take the work, okay? Because no matter what we do, you have to go take the work, okay? And you will take the work because people will notice you. They will see you. They will see that you're, as I say, a player, that you know that you're involved in what you're doing out there in your externships, that you have information, that you're enthusiastic. Okay. And as you go through your core programs, you're going to see certain things that you might think are, why, what the heck is going on? Why do they lock the door when, at 8 o'clock? That's just so crazy. I can't get here at 8 o'clock. Okay. You can't get there for 8 o'clock for school, but I guarantee you if we sit down and we start to talk about your work, we're going to find out that you figured out how to get there for work at 8 o'clock. So I always like to talk about that one a little bit, okay? Because this is the way you have to put yourself in someone else's shoes, and you have to see that we're trying with you to establish habits, okay? And one of those habits is professionalism, and it's this on-time thing. Another habit is looking presentable. In certain programs, we're dressed in business casual. Sometimes we're wearing our scrubs, but we are doing that so we could become natural in these types of situations, and these become our habits in life. And this is really what sets our students apart a lot. When I hear from the hospitals and the administration and stuff, that our students are prepared, and we're doing it from day one. And then we do it really intensely when you get into core. So when you start to see this stuff that's going on in locking the doors, think about it. If you go to work and a new person comes on at your job and you've been working all night, and it's now you get off at 7 a.m. and the person comes into work, you see them walk in at 10 after 7. The new person at 10 after 7. That first day, okay, maybe the internet was crowded and you got here late, okay, or the highway was crowded, you got here late, okay. That one will flow. Happens the second day, everybody's antenna is up, and on the third day, you're probably sitting down with some sort of an action plan, or maybe a plan to show you how to get out that door to the parking lot, okay, because it's not tolerated. It's not tolerated in the workplace. So yes, we're going to establish these types of habits, okay, just like the grooming, all sorts of stuff like that. You'll see that, and you'll say, I hate what we have to do. We have to write our papers and we have to use this stupid APA stuff. Yeah, APA. Well, APA is really actually very important. It's very, very important. Besides making you look like you know what's going on, APA, the basic tenet behind it is just the facts, only the facts. And the facts have to be credible facts. If you think about APA, that's what it's about. It's use credible sources and keep your opinion out of it. You don't want your opinion in it. As clinicians, we're writing clinical notes. Observations are different from opinions. When you get your MD, okay, then you start making opinions. But until you have that MD, you're going to make observations. And a good MD is making lots of observations. Okay. See, I'm already way off track. How many are asleep? Raise your hand. Oh, that's a trick question. All right. Okay, look at this. One of my new slides. Across the world, our education systems have been faced with disruption and unprecedented challenges in providing instruction to students during this global pandemic. Let me just stop here and say, congratulations. You folks got yourselves into core during this time, okay? You had lots of stuff in front of you that you could have said, I just can't do it now. And you decided that you're going to keep moving forward. Kudos to you. You're rocking. By the time we get through and everything's back under control, which honestly, things will be different, but Things are actually under control. Don't get me started. Okay. But you're learning all sorts of cool skills at this time, right? Right now, the Zoom meeting thing, well, you're caregivers. And one of the things we saw change, I've been on the telehealth task force in the southeast part of the United States for years, and we're the ones trying to deploy telemedicine. And as of February, March, telemedicine exploded because we cannot manage patients without telemedicine. And the fact that you folks are learning how to go to class and how to communicate, you are learning skills that you're going to need as clinicians. This is a lemonade from the lemon situation here. Okay, this is the silver lining on the cloud. You're learning the skills that we're going to move forward in life and that we're going to use to help achieve compliance with therapies and watch our patients when we can't be on that face-to-face situation. Will we get back to face-to-face? Sure, we will get back to face-to-face at some point, right? We will. But we will always know that this has happened, and will always be remnants in society, and don't get upset about it. If you look at history, we have 100-year history of flu vaccines. 100-year history of flu vaccines. Did you start to think about why do we have a 100-year history of flu vaccines? Because we lost a couple of million people to a flu pandemic way back when, 100 years ago. And now we take these flu vaccines. So yeah, they figured it out, and we're still living, we're still going on, and we're figuring it out at an amazing pace. So, I mean, kudos to all these folks that got this done. But things will change, right? The flu vaccine followed us for 100 years, still with us, and things will change a little bit. We might not hug as much. We might not shake hands. Which, as a healthcare worker, you might still shake hands, but I haven't done it for 20 years. I don't want to go near shaking a person's hand, and I never have. And the only way I used to get around it is by saying, oh, I think I have a little bit of, everyone thinks I'm always sick because I got a bit of a cold. I don't want to give it to you and shake your hand. I don't have colds because I don't shake your hands. Okay. But I was onto that one a long time ago. And we'll probably, the mask thing, will that stay? Well, who knows? Look at what happened. We used to make fun of people. We go to Disney World or Disneyland or something like that. And we would see the Japanese. The Japanese would be in Disneyland, 10, 20 years ago with masks on. Now, they were doing that more because of the air pollution and stuff that they had over there, and they were used to it. That was their habit in life, but they did better in this pandemic because they already had that as a habit in life, okay? So if you hate masks, you're talking to the wrong guy. I worked through AIDS, H1N1, SARS, all that stuff. We learned to work with masks. Just think of this. Since we've been wearing masks, have you been smelling bad breath? That's such a beautiful thing. I'm so happy not to have that happen to me anymore. So I will wear that mask. And I think the dental community will say, people are actually coming in to get their teeth looked at because they under the mask, they can smell what they've been putting off to the rest of the public. Yeah, I am. This is something completely different. I definitely go off on my tangents. But the mask thing, it's the mask thing. As far as I'm concerned, there are certain masks that really protect us, and working clinically, when we're close and clinical, we wear those types of masks. I will wear a mask anytime that there is another human being near me that feels that they are more comfortable because I have a mask on. That's me. That's my choice in life. That's the choice I make. Okay, we can make our own choices, but that's the choice I make. I'm not going to worry about the fact that I like to wear an artistic mask or something like that. I don't touch things. I mean, 2 weeks from now, you'll find out, Claire, got COVID and died. I have to reset all that. But hey, listen, if that's what the person upstairs wants, that's what the person, that's okay. There's nothing I can do about that. But working closely together, we can continue attaining quality education, even when our school buildings have limited access or are closed. And again, we're learning these cool skills. We're learning how to communicate, okay, without being right there. It's not simple from my point of view right now. I have my screen, and I see my screen what you see as the PowerPoint, and I'm not seeing your faces reactive, and that gets a little difficult, but I've gotten used to it, okay? So if anybody now and then wants to say, you know, unmute and say, yo, that's cool. You know, I don't mind that, you know. All right, now the third bullet point on this page. As always, the health and safety of our students and community remain at the forefront of our minds, especially in what we're doing. We're in the healthcare world, okay? Our campus is safe. If we bring you on the campus, it's safe. We ask you to follow certain rules. We'll keep you safe. When we do get to the point where we go out to externships, we're going to follow rules and we're going to stay safe. We have students in externships, been in externships during this. We're not having problems. We're being very safe. We're following rules, okay? We're thinking things through. We're understanding why we do things. And when we understand why we do things, we do much better in general, okay? So let me start to move off into some of the other stuff. Now let's finish this. Are you asking yourself, I want to keep moving forward on my academic and career goals, so how can I continue my success in this new environment? Well, you already asked yourself that a while ago because you got yourselves to the core. One of the most important things to remember during this time is that you can always be in control of your learning. Your educational success is our #1 priority. Let's discuss some tips you can use to thrive and excel in hybrid, remote, or online learning environments. So this is newer material that I've added, okay? But this has always been here. And you are, each one of you, are case in point for this slide, right? Your attitude, you had a positive attitude towards life. You looked forward in life and you had a positive attitude and you wanted to get something done, right? So to feed this attitude, this positive attitude, you made an action. Now the action at that point could have been just looking around at the different fields you could went into, or let's just move it down to the fact that you decided to go back and get some training. So the action. And you went and you made this action and you got into a school and you went through all of the aid and all the interviews and stuff like that. And all of a sudden now you have a result and you're starting school. And you're starting to feel good about it because you're out there making things happen for yourselves. And it's really, really cool when you start to feel like you're taking control and getting things to happen. There's a great little book to read called Who Moved My Cheese? And it's all about this. It's all about this. Your attitude is going to drive your actions, and your actions are going to create results. Now, your attitude comes from all different places, though, and that's what the book points out. Okay, attitude for humans comes from lots of human experience. And the book in Who Moved My Cheese was there were 2 humanoids and there were 2 mice. So we had the human emotion over here, and we had the animal drive over here. The animal drive saved these people. Okay. The human emotion almost killed them, and then one of the human emotion allowed the animal drive to take over. It's a book you can read in an afternoon, and it is really a great book. It's called Who Moved My Cheese? Okay, but attitude drives action. You get a result, and then you're going to say, yeah, look at this result. And you're going to be really going, hey, man, last time I made a good decision. And your good attitude again, and you make another action, you keep moving forward. And now you're sitting in school and you got through the first couple of orientations and you went through all of your prerequisites, and now you're about to walk into your core, which is going to bring you downstream into your clinical profession. Kudos. Let me show you a couple of slides and let me back up a little bit. Okay. This is just another cool illustration of exactly the same thing, okay? Attitude, actions, results. Okay, so this is a 3-step cycle. It empowers positive change in your happiness and productivity. Myself, I prefer to generate results that make me feel good about my world. I think most of us do. Life is full of highs and lows, and I will be the first to admit that maintaining a winning streak is a full-time commitment and it just doesn't always work out as planned. Hold on one moment. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, very good. It doesn't always work out as planned. So that word planned always triggers me into talking about something that's very important to me, because you're facing an intense part of your program. This is your transition point, and you're going to be really working towards it. You have to keep your eye on the goal. Now, what I like to talk to students about is business plans. What? Yeah, business plans. What's a business plan? Well, business plan basically is telling you what your goal is and how you're going to get there, right? So at the beginning, before we start to get overloaded with work and stuff like that, let's get an idea of what our goal is, and you'll see why, okay? So your business plan is going to be, your goal at the top is going to be, I want to be an RN, I want to be an RT, radiologic technology, I want to be an OTA, I want to be a PTA, okay? Right? And then right below that, you'll say why. And probably why might encompass things like family sustainable wages, the desire to help other people, the desire to do something good in society, stuff like that. And okay, just a couple of lines that you can quickly look at. And this is now your business plan for the next year. This is what you're going to do. Now, as we write a business plan, we then move after that first goal thing, and it's got to be a concise, clear goal. And you've got them. It's sitting right in front of you. You've already written that part of it. Okay. And then down below it, you want to write how you're going to get that done. Okay. And part of it, number one, is going to be, I'm going to go to class, right? And contingent with that, we're going to talk about do homework and assignments and stuff like that. And we'll talk about how to do that. And, business plans, they really start to get pretty detailed at times because there's all sorts of contingencies and mitigating circumstances that we want to talk about, okay? So in our business plan, we're going to talk about, I know most of you are independently wealthy, but we're going to talk about the possibility that we work at the same time. And I know we all have housekeepers and we all have nannies and stuff, but some of us might not, me, and we might want to think about the whole totality of what we're committing to here. Okay. So later on in the talk, we'll talk about how we interpret our lives. But right now we want to say that, okay, a business plan is going to tell us, it's going to describe what we do. Now, one of the things about success with a business plan is to always revisit that business plan because things change. Okay. Circumstances change. All right. I'm going to leave that alone for a moment. I'm going to tell you where and when we're going to use that business plan. Okay, we'll get there in a second. First thing we're going to talk about is experience. All right. Now you're going to get in the classroom and you may see this at times. You may see there are people right next to you in class that basically sounds like they're closing the bar at night and coming in and getting A's in the morning. And you're there studying 8 hours at a time. You're going nowhere, right? It's not your fault. It's okay. Now, right now, you have to understand that your experience and your background is coming into play into this situation, okay? And you had nothing you can do about it. You can't say, oh, I should have, could have. There's no shoulda, coulda, woulda. Enough of that stuff, okay? If we don't know some of this stuff, if our experience and our training in the background, we just don't have it, we're going to work a little bit harder now. And we're going to guess what? We're going to level the playing field, okay? And I'll tell you something very interesting that I've noticed. We always see this as we start these types of programs. We see this uneven playing field. We see these students sitting right next to each other where somebody is just killing themselves to get a C, and the person next to them is like, getting blowing through A's left and right, right? What's going on is the person with A's has some sort of background and some sort of advanced knowledge that's fostering this, which is cool. And the other person just doesn't have that. And that's cool too. It's just, we got to get it under control. So we work a little bit harder, but what I wanted to bring out was that at about the 6, 8, 12 week point, this person here that was doing so well without the, you don't have to worry about nothing. Life is great. This person over here is just working their patoot off, right? This person here, they start to get it under control. They start to figure out their system. They get it down, and they say about 6, 8, 10, they really start to take off, and the playing field's level. But all of a sudden, because these people are real strong and these ones have just been hanging around, and the material now, as we get into that 6 or 8 week, it's not stuff they've seen before. You can watch this side drop. You can see it drop. You can see them falter right there. They stumble. Okay, so be careful. If it's too easy up front, be careful. Be very, very careful there. Okay. You will figure out how to time manage as you go along. The folk that are on the low side of the uneven playing field, don't get upset. Okay? Look for some help. We're here. Okay? If you feel uncomfortable going to your teacher, come to somebody that you feel comfortable with. Did you like speaking to your dean? Did you feel comfortable with your dean? Did you think that Knucklehead Cleary was somebody you could speak to confidentially? Did you want to speak to your teacher or maybe your admissions counselor? But listen, the one thing we don't want you to feel ever here is that you're alone. You're not alone. You're not alone. And it's not just here. I've got to put this one a little further out in life here. You're not alone in life. And occasionally you have to reach out. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's all good. We're all working together towards the same thing. In this situation, I don't care which modality I'm speaking to right now, we're dealing with all the same patients, and we all have the same end game, and we're all driven probably the same way. Okay? So again, life is full of highs and lows, and I'll be the first to admit that maintaining a winning streak is a full-time commitment, and it just doesn't always work out as planned. Okay. Now, it's very easy, very, very easy for us to get derailed with all of life's distractions. But don't use past results as an excuse to stall progress. Again, you are the choir. I'm preaching to the choir. You have not used past results to stall progress, okay? Not at this point. That you got to the core because of this, and you didn't let anything in life slow you down. Occasionally, material starts to feel like it's coming back. It's just too much for us, and we can start to stall. If we start to feel a stall, we need to reach out. You're going to become clinicians. Your first patient is going to be your academic self. Know when you need to ask for help. Okay, we're here to help you. Listen, the last thing we, especially in the core, want to see is somebody not make it. Okay? You're the folks that are coming up to take care of our patients. We want you to be as good as us. We want you to be there to take care of us. I have a very big vested interest. I want to be really nice to you because I'm older than most of the rest of them. And I want you to remember me when I'm that patient in the hallway. So just remember that crazy Cleary guy. Remember the name, write it down somewhere. Okay? But don't stall your progress. When you need a jump start, remember the easiest and most effective force you can change is your attitude. Now, if we've done that business plan thing and we get into this situation where we need a jump start, you pull your business plan out because you're going to sit there at times. I remember, early on in my training, I was like, what the heck is going on? I mean, I can't, this is crazy. There's no end to this, right? And I didn't know about business plans then. And when I got my MBA, I learned about it. And I said, wow, this really can work towards a training in medicine and law and stuff like that. And I said, pull out your business plan at that moment. This is when you take it out and you read the first couple of lines And you say to yourself, yeah, that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm doing this. And your goal is not going to change. Your goal is the same. Okay. You might have to then go down and look in your plan and say, hey, well, I'm struggling, so I might have to look at time management. Now, speaking about time management's a bugaboo. It's one of the biggest bears that we have out there. Let's talk about time a little bit. You're in a full-time program, right? Yes, I heard that. Yes. Oh, that was a nice harmony too. So you're in a full-time program. So we know what full-time is, and we're going to do a little definition, a little mathematics. We'll do some of them calculations. So a full-time job, let's agree on 8 hours a day. It could be 7.5, could be 8.5. Let's agree on 8 hours a day. And a full-time job in the United States is 5 days a week. So we use our gazintas. You know what a gazinta is? Yes, you do. You people weren't paying attention in math. Remember your gazintas. 2 goes into 4, 4 goes into 8, 8 goes into 16. Okay, so you go back to your gazintas. Okay, so we're going to do our gazintas here. We're going to say, okay, well, an 8-hour work day, 5 days a week comes out to 4, you're doing our math calculations, comes out to 40 hours a week. Let's put that thing over here. That's 40. Let's put that over here, okay? In our classes, we're 5 hours per day, 5 days a week. For you math geniuses, 5 squared, okay? But 5 times 5 is 25. So we have a 40 number, which is a full week, and we have a 25 number, which is the amount of time that we have to be available for this full-time endeavor. And there's a difference, okay? There's a disparity there. There's a 15-hour disparity, right? 40 hours is a full-time thing. 25 is what we're supposed to be in class for. What do you think we ought to use the rest of the time for in this full-time program? Studying. Oh my God, Clary, you want me to study 3 hours a day? Well, maybe in the beginning as you're trying to level the playing field, or maybe when you're in pharmacology or positioning or something like that, but not all the time, no, okay? We want to learn other ways to do things, okay? We want to learn to work in concert with other people, okay? We want to learn how to read textbooks. We want to learn about learning. We want to learn how the brain works. We want to learn why we will sit down as a great student and read 10 pages in our textbook, because that's what we're supposed to do. And we'll look up and we'll go, I don't remember anything I just read for 10 pages. We don't want to do that. We want to learn how to get around that. I know you're laughing because we all do that, okay? That happens to us all the time. Okay, let's talk about cognitive learning a little bit. I need you to work with me on this one, okay? Let's think back to September 11th, 2001, about 9 o'clock in the morning. I bet you most people remember every detail of that time, right? You see the clock on the wall. You know the colors of the clothes people were wearing. It's such a vivid memory. There's a photograph burnt into your memory because of this, because you had a significant event that was nailed to this date, okay? This is the 9/11 tragedy. So people remember this stuff, okay? It's a inadvertent cognitive association that's been made here. Okay. Now, too bad we didn't have everybody's math textbooks out at that moment, because we remember all the math in life, but we didn't. Bad joke. I was there actually during the whole thing. Rough stuff. But you remember. But just think about what I just asked you to do. I asked you to think about something 20 years ago, and you remembered almost every detail. I'm going to ask you to do something right now. I'm going to ask you on September 11th, 2020 be pretty easy because you'll be sitting at home. Let's go to 2019. What were you doing 1 year ago? And you're not going to know. You have no clue. Unless it was your birthday or somebody got hit by a train or something like that. You probably wouldn't really know what happened in 2020, but I'd have to assume that you were probably sitting somewhere because, we're kind of clamped down in life. Okay, but this cognitive association thing is something that we want to start to try to capitalize upon. Okay. 1 second. Okay. Do you ever go to a cocktail party? You new boyfriend, new girlfriend, right? You go to a cocktail party, and you go in there and or a wedding or something like that, and you don't know anybody. You're a guest, and you meet 100 to 200 people in 15 minutes, right? In the old world, we used to shake hands. Now we bow and we touch elbows, but we touch elbows with that many people, and you get the name at the same time, right? How many names do you remember? You don't. Too much coming at you. Now, there was a basketball player in the 60s, Jerry Lucas. You can look him up. Great basketball player. I was a little tyke at that point. I'm not 300 years old. I'm 200 years old, but I was a little tyke then. But Jerry Lucas was a great basketball player, but he wrote this book about mind control, and he was a very intelligent man. He talked about this cognitive thing, this cognitive learning thing, this fact that the brain, he didn't know about this is my analogy, but the brain is much like a computer, right? And when you're in a class or you're just learning something up front, what happens when you're working on the computer? When you work on the computer and you're just putting stuff into that computer, you're working on what we call RAM memory, right? The RAM, random access memory up front, okay? Now, these days, Windows takes care of storing that stuff on your hard drive, but you guys probably remember when you used to have to save a paper, or if the computer crashed, you lost your paper or lost something like that, okay? So that motion of saving was that, to me, is the cognitive event that I'm analogizing to, okay? Because we're trying to move things from our frontal memory, right, from what we're experiencing in the mind at this moment, and we're trying to get them back onto our hard drive in the memory, okay? And we have to use cognitive events, and we just prove that it works because we know about 2001, okay? So we have to try to understand the fact that if we're getting a lot coming at us, we want to try to connect cognitive events. So let's go back to the cocktail party. So you go back to the cocktail party, and this time as you're starting to touch elbows, or in the old world, shake hands, you look at the person and you look at the woman's earring and you make a comment of, in your mind about the person's tie or a tie tack or just something that, rather than just this quick type thing, that you're actually interacting with the information and you're actually assigning something to the information, right? It happens in a nanosecond, but that's what's going on. And you're interacting a little bit, and you know something, most people, if they start to try to do that second, third time around, they're up around 30% retention, okay? And they can get up into the 60% retention rate if they keep practicing that type of stuff. Okay, and I only bring that up because of the to illustrate the cognitive nature of what we're doing. How do we get cognitive events to work? Well, they have to be conscious efforts, okay? Conscious efforts, or they have to be seminal events, okay? A seminal event is 2001. Sad to say, if anybody's ever been in a car accident, you get a cognitive association. You know, people tell us that that 3 seconds, they remember 10 minutes, right? That they see every detail, inside out, okay? It's because of that was an inadvertent cognitive relationship. So if we start to understand that the mind does this, and we start to say, hey, I need to interact with the stuff in front of me so I can start to learn stuff, okay? All right, let's go back and before we start, I know somebody's on there. I'm going to write a note to myself because I want to start to talk about textbooks, but I want to talk about something else first. listen, I'm very free on the way I go through things, so jump in and ask me questions. But we talked a little bit before. We talked about experience bases and and your experience in life, and this is how we make decisions in life. It comes from our experience. Now, our experiences start when we're a baby, and our experiences are our parents teaching us things, our earliest experiences, right? This is why, that old saying, apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Okay, because even though you don't think your child's watching you smoke that cigarette, your child's watching you smoke that cigarette. And when you're not around, they're taking the pen and they're doing this. Okay, they're learning at all times. So our experiences are different in life, and our experiences lead us to make decisions. Okay, we draw from our experience base. This is cognitive learning. We draw from our experience base to react to the environment. That's how it happens, right? How about a riddle? Okay, here's a riddle. You go into a locked room. You go into this apartment. It's a locked room, and you open the door you unlock the door, and you walk into the locked room, and dead on the floor is Romeo and Juliet. The window in that room is open just a little bit. There's some water on the floor, and there's a little bit of broken glass. Does anyone want to be brave enough to speak out and tell me what happened?
I think they poisoned themselves.
Now, why did you come up with that?
Because I read it in high school.
Excellent. So your experience, and you've read those two names, Romeo and Juliet, and that's really, really good. You get extra credit because you're a very brave person. Because Romeo and Juliet happened to be goldfish, right? And that little window that was open, a wind blew the goldfish bowl off the table, and the broken glass was the goldfish bowl, and the water was on the floor. So I just wanted to show you that, hey, past experience, got to be careful when you come into healthcare, because you might get a Romeo and Juliet situation when you have to make a decision. So pay attention to the rules that we're showing you at times, okay? Now, I'm sorry I did that with you. I do it. I get everybody on that one. How about, let me throw you an easy one. And then thank you. That was really cool that you jumped in. I really appreciate that. Let me throw another one at you. You've got a horse is on a 15-foot rope, okay? And the horse looks healthy, but the water and the food is 20 feet away. But the horse doesn't seem to have a problem eating or drinking with the 15 feet. What's up? What happened? Why is that going on? Nobody's jumping in the water on this one. I never said I know what you were just about to say. Bob, you never said that rope was tied to anything. Thank you. And you redeemed yourself with that answer. Okay. Why do I bring that up? Okay. We're going to be clinicians. And one of the things we talked about APA before, we talked about the fact that AP is just the facts. We have to be very, very attentive to detail at all times. And I said, APA, we don't want your opinion, but we do want your observations. So if we have a neuro study or a neuro patient and we see some sort of change in behavior, we look in the chart that the change in behavior hasn't been documented before, we have to watch for those things. So one of the ways we start to teach you to become very detail oriented is by looking at the way you write your papers. Are you paying attention? Are you going back? Are you proofreading? Okay. Proofreading is an art. Okay. I have handouts that I could send to you, but I usually have handouts that I'll show where I'll put a paragraph in front of you, and every word in that paragraph is spelled completely backwards and wrong. but you can read every word in that paragraph. It's because the brain processes differently, okay? So we have to start to understand those types of things. Okay. How we doing? We still okay? We still with me?
Everything's good.
We're
Okay.
with you.
You're
Yes,
with
we are
me?
with you.
Yeah,
Now,
Yeah, we're still with you.
okay, who's the one snoring?
still here.
Yeah, we're here, Professor. We're here.
No worries. Hey,
No.
no worries. I don't know if you've ever seen me around campus, but I am that knucklehead. And when you are on campus, you will see me. I do make it a point to come and say hello. And I want you to feel free to use my cell phone, okay? Because again, in life in general, I just got a call this morning from someone that hasn't been my student for 3 years. And they called me at 7 o'clock this morning, all panicked. And I was on the phone for an hour with them, okay? Because you don't leave me and you don't leave our faculty, okay? Because we're family. We're all going to work together on this stuff. Okay. So now we know that we possibly want to make a business plan, because a business plan is going to keep us focused, okay? It's going to keep us focused in the darkest of times, okay? When we realize that, oh man, I don't know why I'm doing this. But remember, there's an end point, okay? And you have to learn about a thing called opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is, okay, well, if you decide that everybody's going to watch the football game somewhere on a Sunday night, well, we don't do that anymore either. But anyway, they're going to watch the football game on a Sunday night, and you don't get to study, and you don't do well on your Monday quiz. Don't get mad at yourself. Understand that was an opportunity cost. Okay, you made a decision on Sunday night that you were going to do something besides studying. Okay, which is okay. You get positives out there. You get to an automatic. Yeah, that's where you should send me. I get thrown off on that one. Where was I? Okay. We're talking about the business plan and the fact that you're going to hit these dark times, and you have to be able to look for a motivation, and you have to go call somebody and speak to somebody when you feel this, because we are a team. Okay, we're moving. You're going to be my colleague, and at this point, the moment you enter core, you are my colleague. Okay, and I am there for you as I am there for any colleague in mine in healthcare, anything, any person in the world, but I'm really there for you. And if you find, no matter what discipline you're in, I kind of cross over into a lot of stuff. If I can't help you, I can find out how to help you, okay? And it doesn't just have to be your work, because you're a human being. You've got a 360-degree life, and you might have stuff going on that you need to speak about, issues you need to speak to, okay? Call us. We're here to help, and we're confident. When I say we're confident we can help you, but we're confident that we'll keep your confidence in mind, okay? We'll make sure that you're okay with this stuff. You've got a friend. Should I break into, here's my dance. No, I won't do the dance, sorry. I'm going to move to the next slide. All right, so we've been running around, and we're just going to talk about attitude, and we've had the attitude, action, results, triumvirate, and the attitude sets the tone for human behavior. Positive and negative energies are all around us. They shape our perception, affect our mood. As emotionally intelligent beings, we choose to control the strings of our mental puppets. Attitude designers can dial hot to cold, light to dark, loud to soft. You do not want to play poker with an attitude designer, okay? You can't read them. As clinicians, we can't, okay, I'm getting there. As clinicians, we have to be able to handle that. We can't give away what's going on. So we're going to move off into strategies. We're going to move out of this. So let's start to talk about textbooks and being prepared to study. So before you come into class, we want to have a discussion in class. We don't want to perform or do a a soliloquy. We want you to be ready to come in and ask questions so that we can have an intellectual discourse. So we'd like you to read assignments before class, complete your homework, be ready to respond. With the limitation of in-person interaction, it's sometimes easy to disengage during these difficult times. Now more than ever, you need to stay engaged in your classes. We're here to facilitate and help you through this, okay? Don't be afraid to ask for help. Your administrators, we're here for you, okay? You have to be patient with yourself. This is one of the big basics, okay? Patience, patience, patience. Give yourself some time. Things are rough right now, okay? I'm gonna put up my fan. 1 second. You got to stay positive and hopeful. Please know that we're all experiencing the same stuff and we're all doing the best we can and we're going to help you. You want to stay connected, okay? Social distancing is very isolating. One of the ways to stay connected is using study groups, okay? Have you ever used a study group? Well, study group is based upon everybody being responsible and accountable to each other. We all take a portion of the material and we break it up and then we come back together. Now, in class, when we are on campus, we'll meet in a group somewhere, we'll stay socially distant and we'll work like that. And if we find that somebody is not actually keeping up with the group, the study group might not be that happy with it, okay? So you have to be responsible and accountable and you have to work with them or else you might not get invited to be in that study group. I used to always make a joke to my wife that when they go to bury me, I want the people that have worked in my study groups to be the ones that are pallbearers that let me into the ground. Because why, my wife said, and I said, because I want them to let me down one last time. So if you're in a study group, you got to work together. Now, Zoom type study groups, they really work pretty well. And we'll talk about Pomodoro technique, where you'll get together in a Zoom session and you will say, okay, we're going to meet at 7 o'clock and we're going to approach today's questions, and you'll read through the stuff and you'll be ready. And in a Pomodoro session, you'll get together and you'll say hello, you do your social little thing, and then you'll say, okay, we're going to work on question number 1, and then you take 15 minutes to each work separately. You work on your own for 15 minutes, a timer. So you keep a timer in this situation. You bring people back together at 15 minutes and you discuss what you've been doing so that you can get this feedback that we might not be getting all the time in the classroom. So in the Zoom type situation, we can use the Pomodoro technique. On campus, we can use the study groups, and study groups are unbelievable. If you can explain something, you know it. Okay, it's very, very important. You need to be disciplined. You have to have structure. You have to practice self-discipline. Let's talk about textbooks, okay? We're very lucky these days. Our textbooks do what we used to have to do. When we read a textbook, we don't want to get into that situation where we are 10 pages down the line and we have no clue what we've read. Most of the times when you open up the textbook, you go to chapter 1 or chapter 2, and they will start the chapter and they will have goals and objectives listed, right? And then they're going to probably have a list of key terms. In most of the textbooks that I review, the goals and objectives are sequential. That means they show up as they are listed in that chapter, okay? The key words are not. A lot of times the keywords are just alphabetical. I'll tell you right off the bat that keywords are super, super important. Okay, so in that first page of your chapter, you want to look at those keywords. You want to make sure by the time you finish, you know what those keywords are. You not only just want to know what those keywords are, but when you're reading, since we have all these resources, you want to have possibly a Google Scholar or a Google Documents page open so you could look at things. You also want to have a dictionary.com page up, okay? Because if you see those words and you can't find it in your reading, you can quickly look in dictionary.com. But the real good thing about dictionary.com is we're in medicine at this point, and some of these words are hard to pronounce. In dictionary.com, you have the ability to hit the dictionary little sign, and you can learn how to pronounce these words correctly. I only bring that up because in medicine, we face a lot of crazy situations, and we amuse ourselves lots of ways. So we hear somebody mispronounce something, you could have a nickname for a long time. Okay, so take the time to do that. When you're reading and you come across an acronym, don't jump over an acronym ever. Okay, you can't do that anymore. You need to know what the acronyms are. You have to stop and slow down. Okay, so now we just got through the first page and we looked at the list of keywords, and we're looking we're going back now, we're going to look at the goals and objectives. So we're going to read that first goal and objective, and then we're going to drop down into the paragraphs, and we're going to see that they're going to use different typefaces, okay? And there's going to be a very big typeface that they start with. Whatever that first typeface is, you're going to read from that size typeface to the next size typeface. Okay, you're not going to go 10 pages through 20,000 different things. You're just going to read between these bolding areas. And at the end of each section, you have to make this into a habit. At the end of each section, you're just going to write a little note in your book, or if you've rented a textbook, you use Post-it notes so you can take them out. But you're going to write a little note about what you learned in that section, okay? If in that section you learned the answer to that first goal and objective, you're okay. You've got it now. It's already in you've got it in your textbook, okay? You've got it in your notebook. You're going to read down, once you get through the first goal and objective and you feel that you got that under control, you're going to read the next goal and objective, and you're going to start reading the sections, okay? If it doesn't, in the next bolded section, you don't find the answer to that next goal and objective, you're going to write down what you learned in that bolded part, and you're going to go to the next until you find that goal and objective. And you're saying to yourself, hey, Cleary, you're going to drive us crazy. You want us to do all this extra work. In the beginning, it might be extra work. Overall, you're going to be making cognitive associations. You're going to be mastering this information, and being able to come up with great discussion questions, okay? That's what we're supposed to do as your instructors. We're supposed to take your questions and be able to help you through them, okay? We're supposed to instruct you on everything, but we don't want to be doing it like, we want to have a Socratic type way. We want to be able to question and answer so we can learn this stuff. We can cause those associations. We have to stay disciplined here. Okay, so now we know we're looking at the textbook. We got through that first page, and we know that we want to do have an approach to how we're going to do our reading for the chapter. And then we get to these cool pages where they're all grayed out, or there's like a chart or something like that. And hey, great, we don't have to look at that. Don't. Those are the important things, okay? Those little case studies, those little examples, lots of stuff in there. And I'll be the first to tell you that I, a lot of times, will go into there and look for questions, okay? So do take a look at those charts. We used to think we can run through them. It was like a snow day. Oh, we don't have to read that. That's the important stuff. That's where your teachers are looking. That's where they're illustrating a lot of this stuff. If you find something in that chapter and that type of chart is just crazy, go and ask your instructor, okay? Hey, is this, do I have to memorize this? And they may say no, okay? Don't stress yourself any further than you need to. Ask for help. It's okay to ask for help. Okay, so now we know that we're going to make some notes in our notebook as we move through these bolded sections. We're going to be trying to answer these goals and objectives to understand where we're going, and we're going to look at the little areas of illustrations within the chapter, and then we always get to the end of the chapter and then we have that little summary of the chapter. Now there's one of two ways we handle that summary. Either we didn't read the chapter and we only read the summary, or we read the chapter and we don't need the summary, okay? We can't do either way. We have to read the summary either way, okay? You gotta learn the stuff in somewhere. And then we always see the questions. So I know in some of the stuff I teach, some of the questions get pretty intense. So I go through and I designate which questions I need them to handle, okay? Some of the courses that we teach are geared, these textbooks are geared for different disciplines. So at times we don't really need to know second derivatives and things like that, Okay, so I try to make sure that we have that, but go take a look at that. And then you have a way to start to approach your studying in your chapters. Now, when you're finished with your chapter, go back and look at the goals and objectives. If you didn't find one of them, you're going to use what we call triangulation. Okay, now we give you, we suggest textbooks. Most textbooks, they're pretty much alike, especially in what we do. So go out and look for other places for information. I always triangulate. Does anyone know Khan Academy? Khan Academy is great. It's great for triangulation. Google Scholar is great for triangulation. There's all sorts of great things. And guess what? Just ask your teachers. Now, we also have the Learning Center, TLC, up there on the 3rd floor, but you can get us through online also. And we can help with that. And the Writing Center, we can always help. And you've got your librarians. There's all sorts of people to help you through this stuff. All right. So who uses highlighting in their textbooks? Well, if you rent your textbooks, be careful. But if you use highlighting in your textbooks, you can come up to my office because I have cans of spray paint. I have yellow, I have pink, I have light green, and you can just spray paint all the pages, because most times when I look at people's textbooks that are using highlighting, I'm seeing a ton of highlighting, and you start to lose the power of it, okay? So let's just quickly talk about highlighting. Highlighting is actually close to a research thing called coding, okay? In research, when we're researching things, we used to use pieces of paper, but we will use markers and stuff like that, different colors, and we will code according to topic. So as you're in a chapter, and you want to highlight all of the contraindications or something like that, choose a color for only contraindications. So when you go back and you want to review contraindications or something like that, you look for the light pink, right? Or maybe dosages or something like that, or KVP or MAS. Use different colors for different categories, and that will really help. When you use only one color for highlighting, be very, very disciplined and only highlight that stuff. Now, if you're highlighting, I would suggest you use another technique also. It fosters cognitive learning. I call it the 4x6 index card, and later on, as we get downstream, I'll show you some examples of it. But my 4x6 index card basically says, listen, the top of the index card, I'm going to put the question that I'm trying to answer. Now, the question can be from a quiz, a test. It can be from something that you just don't understand in the chapter. And then below that question, you're going to write the textbook answer, exactly what it is. Okay, so now you've done two things. You've written two things in hand. Okay, so you're starting the cognitive thing already. Now you turn that card over, and at the top of that card, I want you to explain that so that you can explain it to yourself, so that you can know what it means, so that you can take that explanation and know exactly what's going on. And then at the bottom, I want a trigger. I want something that will trigger how you're going to remember that. Okay? Was it the earring? Was it this? Something about that. It could be crazy things. We were talking about signal to noise ratio the other night, and we analogized it to how thin we slice ham on a ham sandwich. And now all of the students got through that crazy concept because they realized that really thin slices have a lot of noise. Okay, you want to come up with these crazy ways to save information. Now, sometimes, let me stay with that. Let me stay here on this track. Okay, let me stay. Okay. We're worried about people being motivated from studying from home. I'm going to jump through this slide because we're going to keep you motivated, and you are motivated. Okay, that's why you're here. Now, knowledge is created by the student, and that's what I've been trying to get at. You have to engage with your material. You can't just sit there and try to memorize types of things. You can, and some people are very, very successful with the memorization. Recognizing relationships between the information is a lot more valuable to us because then we can figure out, we can troubleshoot. Okay. Knowledge is not given to the passive observer, but must be discovered and constructed by activities of the child. Now, that was Piaget talking about childhood, but it's the same thing in our learning. It's the cognitive associations that we have to make, the engagement, the forcing of the information from the RAM, the frontal memory, to the hard drive, the brain. Okay, we're going to keep it in there to be able to work with it moving forward. All right, so I like this point. Self-discipline is found to be one of the most powerful predictors of performance in school, is likely a skill many students have not yet mastered. Now, we talked about self-discipline before, self-discipline. We were talking about the business plan. Now, the business plan is an important technique, extremely important, because you're going to get frustrated. And if you can pull that little piece of paper out and look at it and refocus yourself and say, yes, this is why I'm going through this. It's very important to keep yourself going. Something simple as figuring out a time management plan is a key contributor to your ultimate success. And I'm back at that business plan. It's very important because in the business plan, you're going to talk about time management and where you're actually going to be doing your studying. Remember, this is a difficult time. This time will be forever be remembered. You're very, very special folks. You're moving through this and you're coming out of it on the positive side. I'm a positive guy. I'm one of those. Okay. All right. So let's get into the nuts and bolts. I'm like a coach. You want to set realistic goals. Okay. You set goals beyond, you're going to be disappointed all the time. When you come up with your study plan, you got to do stuff you can actually achieve. If you can do an hour a day, you can do an hour a day. We want 3, but you can only do 1. Okay. We have to figure it out, but we have to keep goals within reason. You might want to ask for help with time management. We have the TLC, we have the Writing Center, we have counselors, we have concerned folks. I'll help you with it. Okay, we'll help you. When you start into core, when I started my doctorate, one of my interviews, I had to tell them exactly where I was going to study in my office. I had to describe the whole bit. And this is one of the things that we need to know. We need to define and clean out our study space. If we have it in our bedroom, that's a great start. Declutter the space, make room for your books, your computer, any other study tools. During your study time, remove the unwanted stuff. Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook. That's really difficult at times, especially when we're in this lockdown type situation, but we have to try to do it. Let's use Zoom, let's use FaceTime and stuff like that for our learning, and try to keep your learning time, when you're time manager, try to keep your social time isolated from your learning time. Now, I did mention before about the Pomodoro technique, and one of the beautiful things about the Pomodoro technique is that you actually do both, okay? Pomodoro technique has you work together on one thing individually, but on the same thing for 20 minutes or so, and then you come back and you can either socialize like you would do in the middle of a class, or you can talk about what you were just doing. Okay, so that's interesting. If you share a counter or table space with others in your home, you have to be very respectful. Okay, before you start to study, you have to be respectful to yourself. Clean it up, make sure it's all ready to go so that you don't get interrupted. You want to try to think about times that you can focus and people aren't going to be interrupting as much. It's very difficult at times. Very difficult times when we have a lot of people around the house. Okay, but we have to, these are things that we want to look at, and this can become difficult. Listen, there was a year that I used to go study in my car. Okay, the kids were really tiny, everything was going nuts, and when I had to get stuff done, I would go out and sit in the car and get it done. Okay, but that's what worked, and I'm not saying to go sit in your car. Please, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying find a place that you can depend on, that you're comfortable in, that meets your human needs, and then you can move on and you can learn. You can't really learn if you're under stress. I tell my students that all the time. If you feel yourself getting stressed out with an assignment or something going around, close the book, call me up, okay? We're not going to learn when that stuff is going on. So all of these nuts and bolts things, these are about getting yourself so that you're nice and comfortable, so that you can be in that receptive mode. You just want to be respectful, as I said, communicate when you're going to do it, set the time in a block of hours so people will know that you're doing that, and you want to try to tune out distractions, okay? Some people like light music in the background when they study. Uh, I do, but I don't like certain type of stuff. If it's R&B or something like that, I'll be dancing around. So I put on some light jazz or something like that. But I like that because it takes out some of the other background noise. Experiment with different types of things. Some people need it dead quiet. Okay. Some people need it dead quiet. Nobody needs to have instant messenger running, Facebook running, all these other conversations going at all time, because it's just not going to work. Okay, we do have to I understand we do have to multitask in life, but that type of stuff, at times we have to tune that out so we can focus on what we're trying to learn. Okay, and you have to reward yourself. You're working in right now you're in core, and although we're working in groups, we're actually working very closely together, alone. We're close together, but we're alone when we're doing a lot of this work. So you've got to kind of make sure that you feel good. If you manage to study and focus, reward yourself. An extra hour of binge watching of a TV show, an indulgent dessert, take a nap or anything else, take a walk. Be careful with too much of those indulgent desserts and things. You have to balance that out with taking the walks and things, because we don't want to have that pandemic 15 or 20 coming at us. And we didn't used to only see that in pandemic. We see that in core a lot too. And we see that a lot in the beginning of people's careers. Actually, once you get out there on the floor and you're in the clinics, they're running you around so much, so that comes back into control. Okay. So the reward it's an important thing. It will reinforce good study habits, and you deserve a treat. You're working hard. Okay. Now, again, some of this I've tuned up for the environment that we're working in right now. So we have both situations. We have some of the classroom, three situations. We have some of the classroom, we have some of the internship, externships, and then we have a lot of the alone working, okay? You need to keep reading at all times. And that keep reading, that has to go on until you finish everything in life, okay? You always want to keep learning. You don't want to go a day without learning. Whether you're reading for pleasure or reference, keep at it. Reading's proven to keep up vocabulary, grammar, and comprehension on standardized tests. Always helps stimulate your mind in your downtime. You want to set small daily goals, okay? I know the night before, I said, as I getting ready to retire, I look at my day and I say, okay, this is my priorities. This is what I want to get done. And I'm not going to fill the day up completely, but I'm going to have certain very important goals that have to be taken care of first, okay? And it keeps me on line to keep my productivity. You might not be right on peak right now, and that's okay. You'll get through everything. It might take a little bit more time, but you set daily goals. It can help make your day as productive as possible. Be realistic with those goals. Big goals may seem insurmountable right now. Focus on small goals for each day you can cross off your list. And when you start to cross off your list, reward yourself, okay? Take care of yourself. Pick up the phone, say hello to somebody. Get through the assigned articles for your upcoming class, okay? So that might be a goal for tomorrow. Finish the first draft of a paper. You want to make progress on your data cleaning. You want to clean up all those notes that you're dropping everywhere. Setting smaller goals that can feasibly be tackled in a day so you stay on track. Try to make a short list of manageable tasks to get through the day, okay? And you don't need to fill up every hour of the day, because in anybody's life, the day's going to fill up part of it on its own, okay? But you need to stay focused, and you have to stay focused on your education here, and you've got to set these goals each day. What do you got to get done? I have to do my assignments for the day. I have to submit this. I have to do my weekly quality control. Okay. Okay. Carve out time in your day for work and relaxation. Working from home makes it much harder to get through your daily tasks with computers. Now, you're working from home, but you're also working from school, so you have to pay attention to both, okay? You do have to limit at times. I mean, listen, we're in school, we just have to study our butts off, but don't overwork. And if you feel yourself getting overworked, speak to somebody. We're here to help you, okay? We do have to help you. You have to help yourself, but we can't help you unless you tell us you need help. Okay. All right, so we're back into the motivation, which keeps us on the skills. We have to stay on this. Um, you're not going to get something done without some sort of structure in your life. Okay, we provide the structure when you come to campus. You come to campus, you know you have to be there a certain time. You finish with the day. We talked about the fact that you're with us for 5 hours and then you have homework that you have to do. If you don't have that, if you're on staggered schedules, on the off days, you have to keep some sort of disciplined schedule so you get things done. The most important thing you can dedicate a chunk of your day to work and then keep your work out of your relaxation time. You got to take some time to yourself, a little bit, okay? A little bit. If you find that the work is really eating you alive, speak to your teacher, speak to somebody, let us help you, okay? All right, we talked about Pomodoro, we talked about fast time, there's Pomodoro, the other type one, okay, we talked about that. Okay. The thing I liked about the Pomodoro technique is that for many people, time is our enemy. We race against the clock to finish assignments and meet deadlines. Pomodoro technique teaches you to work with time instead of struggling against it. I mentioned in the technique that we're going to, as a group, we're going to have a discipline and we're going to set a 20-minute time to work on this thing. And this helps us develop these great habits, okay? So if anybody wants to try Pomodoro technique or doesn't know how to do it, get a hold of me. You can get a hold of me through the school, but you have my contact info and I'll give it again before we're done here, okay? Hey, do we have any questions? Okay.
No, we're okay.
Okay. So this is I'll get this PowerPoint if anybody wants it, but this is basically what you do with the Pomodoro. I've told you about it. It's about 25 minutes. You ring, you put a check mark in the paper, you take a break, you do what you want on that break, okay? That break is designed to mimic what we do in a normal classroom situation. In a normal classroom situation, we might talk about a movie or we might talk about what we just learned in class, okay? And you want to take a longer break so that we can hang out and get the socialization thing back, okay? And this is on the days that we're not getting that in our classrooms, okay? Pomodoro techniques, virtual get-togethers. We're lucky here in Florida, so we do get to see people. Stay safe when you do that. People are doing virtual get-togethers. It's important, okay? If you are that type, we do have people, faculty, staff, students that do not want to go out and be involved in the world right now. So, using the virtual can really help with this, okay? You get to spend time with people. We did it over the holidays and it really worked. But this is part of the self-care issue. Very important to pay attention to self-care, especially these days. Oh, look at that. You want to prioritize your mental health. Please remember that you're struggling, you need to talk to. We're here. Stay motivated can be nearly impossible when your mind is filled with anxieties. That's why I tell my students when they start to hit that wall, please close the book and get a hold of me or get a hold of somebody or take a walk or walk the dog. Don't follow that stress pattern down, okay? When it starts, you need to interrupt it. You need to break it. Okay, you need to break it, and it has to take an intervention on your part. Don't follow it. You want to try to move around a bit each day, jog around the block, okay? This is just not each day. When you're studying, you've got to stop and look around. You want to eat balanced meals. We have to understand about food, okay? We know about Thanksgiving. When we have Thanksgiving, we all eat turkey. What happens? We all fall asleep. Well, after we learned chemistry and biology, we realized that we have tryptophan, and the tryptophan's putting us to sleep. So we probably don't want a big turkey sandwich before we have a big study session. You don't want to stay up until 2 a.m. unless that's your normal routine. You want to maintain normal sleep schedules. You want to try to get 8 hours a night. Allow yourself time to enjoy some TV and social media, but reduce how much time you spend listening to pandemic news. Stay away from that stuff, okay? It's not nonsense, but stay away. You don't need to feed into that. We're dealing with it every day anyway, and you've got great habits you're developing. Just develop these great habits, you'll do fine. Stay with reputable sources. At times, we're not going to be as productive, and that's okay. The only thing that means is we're going to spend a little bit more time getting the same amount of work done, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. We will take a look at things. One of our techniques is what we want to do is we want to look at what do we have to get done at a certain time. So we want to know what assignments do. I love seeing those people that are tacking up the thing. I have this due here. I have this due here. I have this due here. And I don't know if you can see it, but I have a t-shirt that I wear. It says it's on the syllabus. Okay. Get through your high priority tasks and don't beat yourself up when you don't get through your whole list. You get to it tomorrow, but you can't keep saying tomorrow, okay? You've got to deal with it. If you start to hit these walls and the wall's there for more than a day or so, you need to reach out. You need to speak to somebody. We're moving high speed here, okay? So we want to be able to help you when you need it. Don't let it crop up. Commit random acts of kindness each day. Okay, let's talk about cognition. We talked about that. The lower order thinking skills, we talked about this before when we talked about the gazintas. Now, when we start to learn, the first thing we do is remember, we understand, and we apply. Those are lower order skills. Okay, remember 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Okay, so we remember that. That was remembering the gazintas. When we understood the gazintas, we knew that 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. And then we started to be able to apply that. 11 plus 11 is 22, plus 11 is 33. And then applying that, we moved up into, we only went to 12, so we started to apply at 13, 26, right? Okay. And then we start to get the high order thinking skills. We analyze, evaluate, and create. In what we're doing in core, we're going to be using a lot as we start of those lower order skills. And then we're going to quickly start moving into the analyzing and evaluating. Some of our assignments will have you creating. As you work as a clinician in your first couple of years, yes, you have to use those first 5 all the time. And the 6th we want to see. But as you're coming up and you start creating, you need to use qualified reference sources, people, to look at your great ideas. Okay, because there's a couple of things. Sometimes great ideas, they can violate compliance laws and things like that. Sometimes they're contraindicated for certain patients. Sometimes the great idea, the contraindication thing, sometimes that great idea is only situational, okay? So when we have these great things that we want to do, we have to get them checked out. So be careful with that creating thing early on, okay? Creating takes a lot of testing, okay? Takes a lot of observation and testing. All righty. We talk a lot about learning styles, okay? Visual, audio, and kinesthetic touch. In our classrooms, we use the learning style most appropriate at the moment, okay? We're not going to say, okay, visuals, pay attention. Now audios, pay attention. Now kinesthetic, pay attention. No, we don't do that. We teach the way we are. When we talk about learning styles, we want to understand ourselves. And we can do learning style assessments. If you come to contact myself or Professor White, we can do a learning style assessment. And learning style assessments can help you with how you approach the way you study. Okay, so if you recognize that you're a visual learner, we're going to use graphs, charts, or pictures. I'll show you some examples. We're going to read body language well and has a good perception of aesthetics, able to memorize and recall various information, tends to remember things that are written down. That's our cognitive stuff, and learns better in lectures by watching them. Okay, so those are certain characteristics. What we should do, knowing that about the visual, if we're a visual, we want to turn our notes into pictures, charts, or maps. Okay, have you ever worked with a doctor or a lawyer and they take out those yellow legal pads, right? And if you have a look at the legal pads, you'll go, what? When you look at it, because they're not taking those very neat notes. They're putting a word over here and circling it with a star next to it, and then they'll put a word over here and double arrows over to here. And what they're doing is they're visually building relationships between the information they're giving you. For the doctor, they're trying to work through that information to come to a differential diagnosis. For any other business professional, they're trying to find relationships that they can utilize to help make decisions. Okay. The visual type learner, since you're visual, you want to be careful with those distractions. But this is all a personal issue. You might not want to be sitting with your window facing the beach because you'll be watching the beach the whole time. You want to learn the big picture first and then focus on the details. You want to get the general concept. What are we looking at? Okay. And then let's cone in. Let's come from 5,000 feet down to 500 feet and take a look at the details. You want to make mind and concept maps instead of outlines. Now, we talked about that earlier. That's one of my earliest things we were talking about was these relationships. Find the relationships in the information. Find the relationships, and you start to build these concept maps, and then you can start to put information together so that you can problem solve without having to do a lot of the memorization. And although I say without having to do the memorization, when you're making these concept maps, you're tricking yourself and you're actually memorizing at the same time. So a lot of times I throw out these techniques and it's ways to achieve these cognitive things. We try to slip the learning right past you. But it works. It works. We know we're trying to learn. We just want every way in the world to try to do it. Acronyms, they're terrific. Acronyms are great. Acronyms usually don't mean anything whatsoever except to get us to remember the order of something. Okay? But they really work. Acronyms are terrific. On old Olympus mountain tops, a Finn and German viewed some hops. If you took anatomy, you know what I'm talking about on that one. PEMDAS, right? We know PEMDAS. If you know math, well, these days I teach a lot of people what PEMDAS stands for, right? Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, PEM, division, addition, subtraction. And that's the order of operations in math, okay? We talked about the flashcards. We talked about color coding, okay? Very important. These are the ways that you put information together. And if you look at each one of these things that we've listed here, it calls for some sort of an engagement with the material. And when you engage, you're causing that cognitive relationship, okay? It slips the learning right by you. Now, flashcards. I talked to you a little bit about the exercise where you write the answer and then you're in the back, you do it. On anything that you're really having trouble with, or you have to really master a whole bunch, and in the modalities you're all studying across all these disciplines, you're going to have this. You should use flashcards. Flashcards are really, really great. Make them and write your flashcards. We can download flashcards, okay? You can download flashcards. You don't do it, okay? You're missing the effect of the handwriting issue. The handwriting is causing that inadvertent cognitive relationship. You want to have that association happen. So you make these flashcards. And whenever I had big, high stakes tests and stuff, and I was getting ready for them, I'd start with stacks of flashcards from all of my studies about here. And one of the things I learned is that I don't want to study the things I know. I don't need to study the things I know. I feel really good when I study the things I know because I know them and I feel good. But I want to learn how to find out the things I don't know. And when I find out the things I don't know, I want them in flashcards in my top pocket. And if my top pocket's out to here, that's fine. I keep looking at these things whenever I have time. And eventually that stack gets really small. It comes down. And just because you have this reference right there in your pocket and you pull it out and you're thinking of something, you go, that's the answer. And you're reinforcing the right answers. I've seen students say, yeah, well, when I'm driving along in the car, I think of the answer. And then I come up with it. I says, yeah, okay, what was the answer? And they had the wrong answer. So they memorized in the car the wrong answer. And that's a hard one to break away from. So it's really good to be able to check as we're learning to be able to check those answers quickly so that we keep reinforcing the information that we're trying to master. We okay? Okay. The auditory, retain information through hearing and speaking, often prefers to be told how to do things, okay? Then summarizes the main points out loud to help with memorization. Speaking out loud is very important. I quickly said in APA, I mentioned that we have to try to proofread, okay? If you proofread in your head, you're going to miss your mistakes. You need to proofread out loud. Okay, it slows you down. Your brain is moving faster than any supercomputer in the world, and the brain is not processing information the way we think it's processing. This is why we can read those paragraphs with nothing spelled correctly. Okay, so we have to pay attention to that. Pay attention to that. When we read out loud, when I work with ESL students and they're having writing problems, I make them read to me, okay? And even if it's not their native language and they're reading to me, they're naturally pausing where the punctuation is missing. And I was amazed when I started to pick this up, and I was like, wait a second. This reading out loud really helps. People don't recognize that we have this natural thing going on. And whenever I work in a situation like that, I always have the students read out loud to me. And when I can get people to read do their proofreading reading out loud, their writing abilities jump through the roof. Hey folks, listen, we're doing really well. Do me a favor, go into the chat and put your name, just tell me what program you're in because I'll see your name, okay? Can you go ahead and do that as we're talking? Put your name in the chat. We'll see that you're here, okay? Thank you. Okay, so there's our auditory. In the auditory, what type of tips we want on that? We want to record lections and then listen to them. And these days, we're recording everything for you. If we're in a classroom situation, there's just a little bit of etiquette on that one. And you should always ask somebody whether you can record them, okay? Just ask. They'll say yes, most probably, but ask. It's an etiquette issue, okay? You want to repeat material out loud and in your own words. And I say that this is such a great technique, but please be careful with this one, because if you do that on a public bus or a public train, they might put you in a Baker Act situation. Just kidding. If you have a dog, read to your dog, okay? Explain it to your dog. Discuss materials when you study groups, right? If you're in a group of people, if you can explain something, you know it. You know it. Read textbooks aloud. That's okay. It can take a long time. What I would say in a read textbook, and that one, I would say, when you get to the crux of the biscuit, when you answer that goal or objective, read that aloud. When you find the answer to that objective, read that aloud. The reading of that aloud, again, that's causing that cognitive relationship, that cognitive association. And then we talked about wordless background music. Now, I put wordless in there because I'll sing along to anything out there, although I sing like a dog in heat. But wordless background, just something to, take it out. But some people want total quiet. My wife cannot study with any noise around her whatsoever. So the kinesthetic, we like the hands-on approach. See one, do one, teach one. Generally good in math and science, would rather demonstrate how to do something than verbally explain it. Usually prefers group work more than others. Now, for us, this is a good situation, but we have to be careful as instructors. We have to slow them down, because if they're demonstrating something to us rather than verbally explaining it, we don't want to get into a situation where somebody could get hurt or something could get broken. Okay, so we have to slow them down a little bit and make sure that we're not getting into a danger situation there. Okay. And the kinesthetic, they prefer group work more than others. And let me just jump back to group work. When you're in a group, you have responsibility to the group and you have accountability to the group, okay? If you're not responsible to do your work, and if you're not accountable to the others in your group, they may tell you we're meeting at 8:30 in room 312, and you get to 312 at 8:30 and no one's there, and they've been in 208 since 7 a.m. Okay, so be careful. You have responsibility and accountability to those that you're working with. And that carries across to us as clinicians. when we're working with clinicians, we have responsibility and accountability to everybody. Okay, we're teams. That's why we call it care teams. Okay. All right. Let me just look at this. So you want to take study breaks often. Learn material while doing something active. Some people can do it on the treadmill. I can barely whistle on a treadmill. But I learn material great while I drive. So what I have gotten is I have a PDF reader on my iPad, and I can convert anything that I have to read into a PDF. And when I'm driving, they can read it to me. And I pay a little extra to get some real voices. And it sounds like a real voice. It's not like a real machine voice. So that's an interesting thing that I use. The only problem they have with it is that if there's a page number on there or a continued thing, it's going to say all that stuff too. Now, this does not preclude me doing the reading myself, but when I'm stuck in the car for a long time and I have a lot of reading to do, I can get through the gist of it, and then I can come back and do a cleanup read to make sure that I know the stuff at the end of the chapters, that I know the things that are in my goals and objectives, that I know those words on the word list, okay? Chew gum while studying, that's good for some people. I can't chew gum while I'm walking, okay? Work while standing, that's a big thing these days, and it works. The hardest thing, I was joking with some of my colleagues about me doing this type of presentation in a Zoom format, is that I'm a walker. I do miles in a 2-hour lecture. I'm back and forth. I'm everywhere. And right now I'm gesticulating a little bit. Okay. Well, we don't get to choose those. Okay. So let's talk about some takeaway tips. Sleep relates to learning. Okay. It doesn't mean that you take your textbook and you put it under your pillow and by osmosis, all the material will move into your head. No, it means to sleep well and study when you're awake. Naps are good, 20-minute power naps. You know all about the REM thing. You don't want to go too far into it. And guess what you said? Hey, Siri, wake me in 20 minutes. Oops, it's going to do it now. Okay. You want to study 2 hours before bed and review frequently in the morning. I like to tell people on those big study days, get your sleep at night, get up early, spend some time before the test. Okay. But you got to get your sleep. Now, chunking study time. We talked about how to go through a textbook, but I never told you about how long to go, okay? I told you to go between the bolded areas and then to make notes in between, right? But you have to chunk the study time. Now, you're gonna bite off things that you can chew. In this slide here, I have 45 to 50 minutes. Honestly, I'm down to about 40 minutes on these things. Go about 40 minutes. And that might be one section that you're having trouble with. It might be 10 pages. But during that chunk, you want to be able to make those notes between each highlighted section. You want to be able to make sure that you are meeting the goals and objectives. You understand the goals and objectives of that chapter. And when you finish the chapter, again, of course, you're going to review those goals and objectives because you're working with the whole time, but go back to that word list and make sure you know what those words mean. And you never run by a word you don't know the meaning of when you're reading. Okay? You have to stop if you don't know the word. Eating relates to learning. We talked about that. The tryptophan environment, we talked about that. Okay. So focus on what you don't know. Keyword note taking. When you're sitting in a class, you don't have, some people like to take every word. That's okay. And it works for some people. I've seen it work for some people. I tend to use keyword note taking. I want to watch my instructor. My instructor's giving visual cues. My instructor's giving audio cues. Okay. When my instructor is very, very enthusiastic about something, their body language is going to tell it, and they may start to change their volume. So you pay attention to these things because they're stressing these things, that we're getting a lot of indirect information out of them, okay? You want to write down what you don't understand. I call this the muddy point. At the end of any of my classes, I ask my students to stop. Hey, write down what you learned, right? Write down what you learned. We spend 10 minutes. And I want you to write down what you didn't and tell me. Because now it's my job to go collect those muddy points, the things they didn't understand, and turn around and be able to address those the next morning. That's my job, right? Is to be able to get you to learn this. And I have to figure out what you don't know. And you have to help me. You can ask your classmates. All class content is interlinked. Do not study only for the test. You need to understand the concepts, grasp the big picture. We're going to study smarter, but we're not going to study harder, okay? In the beginning, as we start to put these techniques into play, it may seem like you're spending more time, but in the long run, you're going to be more successful. Okay. Do we have any questions? How are we doing out there? Anybody left?
No, we're still here.
Okay.
We're here. We're
Here.
Okay. Now, I want to bring up my other, I have to let go of this because I want to show you examples of this stuff. Does that, anybody have questions at all of any of this stuff that we've been looking at? Who is this guy?
Negative.
Negatory, she says. 1 second. How do I get back to here? Okay. And slideshow from beginning. Don't worry, I'm going through somewhere else. Oh, here we go. Okay. I wanted to show you what the brain does. Can you see this? Hello?
No, we only see your
you with a
your
backdrop.
quote. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me see if I can share this. Let me get over to here. Share screen. And I'll be quiet. Can't you see? Now do you see me?
Yep.
You can see
Yeah.
it, okay? Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
cool.
sir.
So, sir, oh my heavens. Okay, so this one's saying, you can read that, right? According to a research at Cambridge University, it doesn't matter what the order of letters of the word are. Is that amazing that you can read that? That's what the brain is doing. That's what I was talking about, that you need to proofread out loud. This is why. If you read this in your head, you can read this. If you read this out loud, you can't read this. Okay? You're going to pick up every mistake in here if you proofread this out loud. So it's amazing how the brain is actually processing. We think that the brain is processing in a whole different way than it is, but is anyone on here that can't see what's written here? It's illustrating very nicely what's going on in the brain. Now, let's take a look. We're getting there now. We're coming close. We're going to look at some more strategies. We're going to translate tables, charts, PowerPoint handouts into our own using graphics organizers. And what are these? Okay. Well, we talked about reading outlines where in the texts. We talked about the word list. We talked about triangulation, Google, and dictionary.com. Okay. Now, graphics organizers concretely represent abstract or implicit information. It shows relationships between or among ideas and helps organize ideas, helps connect new information with prior knowledge, assist in the storage and retrieval of information. Let's take a look. This is the Freyer model, okay? Now the Freyer model is very funny because I've been using my model that I told you about, the 4x6 index card model forever. And I saw the Freyer model and said, hey, where's Freyer? This is what I do, except I use both sides of the card. Definition in your own words up here. The characteristics about it, okay? The examples and the non-examples. Now the Freyer model goes a step further than I did in that the Freyer model is really useful for classes of things, okay? So let me use an example of in nursing, in medications, okay? If we have beta blockers, okay, we would put beta blockers in the middle. right here, okay? And then up here, we put a definition of what a beta blocker does, right? It slows the heart, it releases load and stuff like that. And then we're going to put in here all the different characteristics about them. Then we're going to put the examples, because there must be 20 types of beta blockers, okay? So these are going to be the examples, and we're not going to use non-examples, but what we're going to do here is beta blockers, there may be 20 examples. In those 20 examples, there's probably only 2 or 3 little things per example that are different, and every other characteristic of a beta blocker is the same. Okay, so we have these types of things. Okay, so if we're in RT or in OTA or PTA, and we're talking about a knee or something like that, we put the knee in the middle, and then we're going to surround this with all of the information about it, or definition of what it is, and the characteristics as pertains to our discipline. Okay, and then we might want to use therapies or indications and contraindications. But these graphics organizers, they force us to sit down and put information into categories, okay? And we've been talking about cognitive association and relationships. And when we sit down and do these graphics organizers, again, I keep saying we like to slip the learning right by you. And that's what's going on here. You're doing this, this tedious task, but at the end of it, you actually have all of this knowledge, okay? And it's because you're taking the time to break things down and to put them into a form. Now, when you finish with the Freyer model and you make up the card, it goes in your top pocket. And you stay with that for the beta blocker, and you do that for the calcium channel blocker, right? You do that for cross table technique and things like that, and other disciplines and stuff. But we do that, and they stay in our pockets till we master them. And we know that we're not going to study the things we know already, and they will come out, and they're not going to be thrown away. We never throw those cards away, because eventually we do forget stuff, or we might take certification exams, and we might want to go through all of the things that helped us to read through it. So when we get ready for that big high stakes test at the end, you start looking at all of those tools that you've built, and you start throwing the cards into the pile that you don't have to study. And you keep that pile until the day of that test. And then after that, you sell the test, the thing. No, you don't sell those cards, because people have to make their own cards. And that's one of the important things. When I see folks that have the prepackaged cards, they're losing 60% of the value. It's great to have it there. It's really nice. What the value is the transcription, okay? It's the brain to fingertip, fingertip to brain, okay? Very important. Okay, let me move to another one. All right, now here's another type of graphics organizer. And if you look on the right here, the cluster or word web, again, this is great for things that have commonalities, okay? In all of the disciplines that we're moving into, we are going to be approaching systems, drugs, all sorts of stuff that have lots of commonalities, okay? So again, I'll just grab beta blockers because it's an easy one for me to grab. And I put beta blocker in the middle, okay? And then I put out the different names, the tenolol, metoprolol, the different types of ones as we go around. And in the center here, I would have beta blockers, and I would have listed all of the commonalities. And then over here, atenolol, what's the one difference or the two difference? And what's this one over here, right? And why is this one contraindicated? And what you wind up doing is you wind up memorizing a whole bunch of stuff for a class, and a class of type drugs or a class of systems. And you only need to adjust a little bit for those individual variations, okay? So this cluster word web is a really, really strong tool to use. Now the 5 W's chart, this is a very good tool to use at the end of a lecture or at the end of a study session. Or this could be the tool that you use as you read between the bolded sections in your chapters, and this could help you learn to be the discipline on how to break down your information. Okay, between those bolded sections, okay, what we are reading about. So we looked at our goals and objectives and what happened. So we'll have a goal and objective here, and then we'll write out what happened. And we might not have a who or why, but we'll just fill it in as we go. We'll fill in the information. We'll figure out for each situation we get into where we have to handle information, what are the questions that we want to ask each time? And then we're going to make this up for each one. Oh, Bob, you're telling us to do so much extra. I am, but I'm showing you how to organize information. You can't memorize everything in the world, but you can learn how to access information in a very expeditious manner. And you can use your understanding of what you're seeing to utilize that information in whatever you're trying to do, a treatment or a planning situation. Okay, so here's some more graphics organizers. The same type of thing. A spider map looks very much, it's much like a cluster web. It's just a whole bunch of ways. And again, you put the topic in the center. And again, and everything that we're talking about, commonalities, find the commonalities, okay? The foot, we've got what, 4 disciplines that deal with the foot right here. We've got drugs, we've got all sorts of positioning things, we've got exposure rates, we've got recovery rates and things. The spider map is a great way to build those on those yellow legal pads. And you'll see that your lawyers, your doctors, your Indian chiefs, all those folks are using these types of techniques. They may not be using exactly that diagram, but they're using the theory because they learned how to organize information and now they have their own technique, but it's on that paper. Take a look at anybody that's using not anybody, but most people that are using legal pads, they're drawing relationships and they're finding these things. Now, we look at the Venn diagram. So when we start to draw these relationships and we start to get all this stuff to work, we got this area in the middle of all the commonalities. Now, if we're a doctor and we're starting to draw all these things and we start to find all these commonalities, what do you think happens in here? The differential diagnosis starts to emerge, okay? Because all of the commonalities start to add up, and that's how they'll do it. Okay, and that's how we do it as we look at people in OTA or PTA. We may not consciously think of that, but when we start to see a whole bunch of stuff cropping up in here, in this, remember Venn diagrams, what grade was that? But the Venn diagram pops up now and it's showing us how powerful this stuff is and how we actually start to make decisions. Did you know you were actually doing that? So here's some more graphics organizers. If you have to write papers, the persuasion map is the way to write a paper. Now you do have to write papers. Well, Writing Center, we're happy to help with anything on it, but you cannot approach assignments or papers without an outline. Okay, up on the 3rd floor, we have a great thing outside the Writing Center, and it says there's no such thing as great writing. There's only great rewriting. And anybody that thinks that they can write an assignment on one pass, it's not going to happen. You're not going to get the grade unless it's poetry, okay? Something completely subjective, okay? You're not going to get the grade. What you need to do, especially in what we're doing in our disciplines, okay? We need to organize our thoughts. So if we're going to write a paper, okay, it's a persuasion map. So before we even start to write the paper, we want to know what we were trying to do here. We want to know what the goal of the paper is. And if the goal of the paper is let's get people to eat correctly, right? Okay, better nutrition would be the goal, okay? Reason 1, better health. Reason 2, clarity of thought, just whatever the reasons. And then you'll give 3 supporting main reasons, okay? I refer them as drivers. These are drivers towards that goal. And then on each reason, we're going to have sub-drivers, okay? And that's how you write something. This is a very organized approach to writing something. If you're going to put up an assignment, you have to have a goal, you have to support your goal, and then you have to explain the support. And that's all this is showing you. So when we go to write something and you start to struggle with your assignments, and you realize you have not written an outline, you're going to struggle until you give up and say, I better write an outline. And the moment you get a written assignment and you sit down and write an outline, it's going to flow. It's an amazing, what it is to me, it's one of the speed bumps of academia, okay? I call it a speed bump. Students, when they first see these writing tasks, they think it's, Mount Everest. It's not. It's a speed bump. All it is, it's how do you organize your thoughts? How do you get your point across? When you want to address a paper, you don't want to go after 10, 15, 20 different things. You want to have a goal and a focus, and then you want to build behind that, okay? Graphics organizers, the KWL. This is a great thing at the end of a lecture, okay? What did I learn? Okay, what do I want to learn? Okay, and what do I want to know about this? Okay, so it's a great very thing. Now, you don't have to do that. I used to carry things like this around. I have techniques at this point. I actually use what I call a rocket book. And I'm never without this. And this thing sends directly to my phone all of my notes that I'm making during the day. Anyone wants any information about it, feel free to get a hold of me. Now, let's finish this up. Now we want to dive in and enjoy our adventure. Let me get out of here. Go back to here. Okay. Hi, everybody. I can see you again. I can tell who was snoring. I can tell. It was Paula. Okay. And let me open this up to a certain page. And slide. Okay, can you see? Oops, that's not it. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We can.
Okay, hold on one second. There we go. It's not 7 o'clock, and I know you wanted to be here until 7 o'clock, but I basically am done with what I'd like to address here. I'm available to you at any point. Here's my contact information. Do we have any questions at all? Does anybody comments, questions, jokes?
No, thank you. You made it very clear.
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
No, but thank you.
And
Try
good
to
study.
pick-
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you so much, Dr. Bob.
Hey, listen, no problem. Remember that you always have somebody here. It might not be me, but you always have somebody, okay? You're never alone in life or especially in Keiser University. You're never alone, okay? Take down my info. You can call me at any time. And if I don't get right back to you, either I'm sleeping. No, I'll get right back to you. I promise you. So bless you all. Stay very, very, very safe. I can't wait to meet you in the hallways. Congratulations on this great achievement. It's one step of, in your pathway. Okay. And remember this mug. So when you see me as a patient soon, okay. You're all.
got you, Professor.
Hey, do me a favor. Can you do me one more? Can you do me one more favor?
Thank you.
One more favor. Go back into chat and just say goodbye. This way, that's how I'm doing the attendance. Okay. I love you all. Thank you. Bless you and stay safe.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care.
Is that
Thank
everything,
you. Happy
Professor?
holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Be safe out there.
Be safe.
Was that everything, Dr. Bob? Are we good to
Yes,
go?
that's it. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for everything and all the helpful advice. We'll see
Hey,
you
grab
on
me in the
campus.
hallways. Tell me you saw me. Smack me in the head.
Absolutely, Dr. Bob. I'll let you know.
Take care, buddy.
All right. Have a good one.
orientation done?
Huh?
The orientation is done, or this portion of the orientation is done? Because I'm not sure.
I'm done. I'm done.
Oh, you're done.
I think this is the thing.
Everyone's like, is this like a setup? Are you waiting?
Yeah,
for
like
No, I don't have.
Test to see.
Hold on. I'll just check with the dean, but I'm almost positive we're finished.
Okay, we want to be sure.
just in case, let's just.
Everyone's nervous. Everyone's nervous to exit out.
Yeah.
Just that I'm texting them.
Well, if anything, I have your contact info, doctor. So thank you for everything.
Yeah, man. Please feel free to use it. Again, no stress. And you got a friend here. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you,
want-
doctor.
I want you to get to your goals.
Thank you. If I ever have any questions or doubts, I will reach out.
Please
phone call.
do.
Thank you.
Please do.
Thank you, doctor. Have a good one. Stay safe.
What program are you?
PTA.
Right. Very good. Very, very strong. They're all very strong programs. Miami campus rocks.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm excited to start. So
Good.
if I run into anything I need some guidance with, I'll definitely reach out to you. Thank you.
Please do. And watch out for your other students and send them my way if you see anybody in distress.
Absolutely. I got you, Dr. Bob.
Bless
Thank you
you.
for everything. Have a good one.
So see you later.
Bye.
Professor, is it safe to log out of the meeting?
Yeah, it's safe. It's okay.
Oh yeah, I'm scared.
Alrighty.
too.
Okay.
Go.
Holidays.
Run away, quick. Get out of here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous.
All right, take care. Thank
Let's
you.
go
Take care.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
sit here
you.
until everybody else logs out.
Oh, you look at you guys. You're too funny.
The last man standing.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm
listen.
like, I'll take a nap right out and I'll leave it on.
No. As long as just throw a goodbye into the chat group and then sign out. I got you.
Send it again, just in case.
I
Yeah,
got
I
you.
Right? Because I don't
I
know.
didn't throw
I
it,
think the
Doc.
ones that are still
I
here are
got
iffy.
you.
We're
I got
iffy.
you.
We're all like, nah, it's too good to be true.
Like, let's
Yeah.
stay.
Now, what programs? Yell at your programs. I want to see who's the most paranoid.
Hey, no paranoia over here. I didn't throw my goodbye. I wrote it though. Not
You're
throw
the
it.
man. And what program are you, sir?
PTA.
All right, you're all PTA. They got you jumping. Well, that's a really great program, and that's a great field to move into. Really great field. But they all are. I mean, I'm so proud of this campus.
All right, everybody have a good holiday.
Bless you. Have a great one.
Happy holidays.
Okay. Okay, I think I'll stop the recording.